Little Bunny limped home from church, dragging his lame leg slowly while he sobbed to himself, "Bill will have some, and Tom will have some, and Joe will have some, but I won't have any. I can't mow lawns and I can't dig gardens, and I haven't got chickens and mother's a widow. I don't have anything, so I won't have any mission offerings at all." Bunny's real name was Robert McLeod. He was 11 years old and had been a cripple since he was 5. This morning in church an earnest appeal had been made for mission offerings to help open schools for little boys and girls in Africa, and Bunny longed to be able to help too. As he neared his home, Jimmy, his best-loved playmate, came running to meet him and barked his welcome. "Bow, wow, 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 wow." Bunny stopped, rubbed away his tears, then said, "Jimmy, I do too have something, don't I? I have you." Then he put his arms around Jimmy and cried, "Oh, Jimmy, I'll have to do it. I'll have to sell you for mission offerings. But it isn't because I don't love you, Jimmy. It's only to help the little boys and girls in Africa learn about Jesus." And Bunny cried himself to sleep that night. First thing next morning, Bunny whistled for Jimmy, fastened him on a leash, and started off. Down the street, Bunny had noticed a sign, "Mr. Thorpe, Kennels," and he knew that Mr. Thorpe bought and sold dogs, so off he went, hoping to sell Jimmy there. A strange, empty feeling came over him as he entered the gate, and he hugged Jim close and whispered, "I've got to do it, Jim. I haven't any other way. Jesus gave everything for me." Then he patted Jimmy tenderly on the head and straightened up and knocked bravely on the door. When the door opened, Mr. Thorpe asked, "Well, Sonny, what can I do for you?" "Please, Mr. Thorpe," said Bunny, "I want to sell my dog." Mr. Thorpe stroked his chin, looked Jimmy all over for a moment, then shook his head as he said slowly, "Let me see, Sonny. He's got some fox terrier blood in him, and some Boston bull, and maybe a little bit of collie." "Yes, sir," said Bunny, "and he's got some Airedale in him too, Mr. Thorpe, and he's got the brains of them all put together, he has. He sure is a smart dog, aren't you, Jimmy?" Bunny looked at Jimmy proudly, and Jimmy said, "Bow, wow, wow, wow." But Mr. Thorpe didn't look one bit impressed. "Why do you want to sell him, Sonny?" he asked. "For missions, Mr. Thorpe. You see, I do want to help the little African boys and girls learn about Jesus." "For missions," said Mr. Thorpe. "Why, Sonny, your dog isn't worth a cent. It's just a good-for-nothing mongrel dog. You take my advice. Forget all about those boys and girls in Africa. You need that dog to play with more than they need that little bit of money." Bunny limped to the sidewalk, but could get no further. He sat down on the curb, put his arms around Jimmy and cried, "You're not a good-for-nothing mongrel dog, Jimmy. I know you're not. You're the bestest dog in all the world." Then he prayed, "Dear Jesus, I didn't mean to give you something that was good for nothing. Please, Jesus, won't you make Jim worth something?" After he prayed, Bunny felt lots better and was quite sure that somehow Jesus would answer his little prayer. 2 weeks went by and nothing happened, and then one day, as Bunny came home from school, his mother met him with a dime and said, "Bunny, please get me a loaf of bread at the corner store, and you can take Jimmy with you and do some window shopping before you come back if you like." That's just what Bunny did like, for he couldn't run and play like other boys. So he whistled for Jimmy and off they went to the store. First he bought the bread, then began to look in the store windows. There was the dressmaker shop and the florist shop and the dime store. Oh, what fun it all was! The next shop was the jeweler store. It had watches and clocks, all lit up with electric lights, so that it looked like fairyland. Bunny had looked all over the front window and then moved around to the little end window near the door that goes into the shop. He was standing quietly there looking when suddenly the door opened and out came a man carrying a big black traveling bag. He seemed in such a hurry that he did not see Bunny standing there, and as he rushed by, he knocked Bunny right over onto the sidewalk. Now, if the man had been kind and said he was sorry and had helped Bunny back on his feet again, everything would have been all right, but he didn't. He just growled, "Get out of my way, kid! Serves you right for being in my way. Can't you see I'm in a hurry?" Now, Jimmy might have been only a mongrel dog, but he wasn't going to let anyone be unkind to Bunny like that. And he got all the fox terrier and all the Boston bull and all the collie and all the Airedale he had in him ready for business. Then he leaped through the air with a savage growl and buried his teeth in the leg of the man's trousers. The man tried to shake him off, but there was some bulldog in Jimmy's jaw and he hung on. The man tried to kick him off, but there was some fox terrier in Jimmy's legs and he was never in the same place that man kicked. The man shook and kicked, but Jimmy hung on. A crowd gathered around to see the sight. Bunny got up and looked on, wondering what Jimmy was going to do. Suddenly a policeman walked into the crowd, took that man by the shoulder and said, "You come with me." A big black car drove up to the curb. The man and the policeman got inside and it drove off. Bunny was still wondering what was going to happen when he felt a hand on his shoulder. "Was that your dog, Sonny?" asked the man. "Yes, sir, and Jimmy didn't mean to hurt him." "Jimmy's a good dog, son. Look, I'm the owner of the jeweler store. Come in for just a moment. I have some good news for you." Bunny whistled and Jimmy went inside with him. And the man said, "Do you know, your dog has just helped us catch a thief. That man had $5,000 worth of watches and jewelry in his bag, and he might have gotten away, but your dog, Jimmy, held him long enough for us to call the police. Give me your address. We're going to bring you a good reward for helping us catch the thief." "Do you mean," said Bunny as if he couldn't believe his ears, "do you mean that you're going to give us money?" "You certainly deserve a good reward for what you and Jimmy have done today," said the man. And maybe Bunny should have waited till he got home, but he couldn't. Frantically, he threw his arms around Jimmy and cried, "Oh, Jimmy, he's done it! Jesus did make you worth something after all, and now we're going to have a lot of money, and I'll have my mission offerings, and Jimmy, I'll have you too! Oh, Jimmy!"